The quantum sensors aboard the UES Discovery weren't malfunctioning. Dr. Elena Rodriguez triple-checked the readings, though she knew it was unnecessary. The massive structure floating in the Kuiper Belt shouldn't exist, at least not according to humanity's understanding of physics from 50 years ago. Today, it was merely impressive. Contact bearing 170, maintaining station keeping, Lieutenant Sarah Wu announced from her position at helm control. Structure is approximately 15 kilometers in length, composed primarily of crystalline matrices we've never encountered before. Captain Michael Chen remained silent, studying the holographic projection floating above the bridge's central console. The object, clearly artificial, pulsed with internal energy readings that suggested it was powered by something akin to a Dyson sphere. Except this was far more elegant than humanity's clumsy attempts at stellar energy capture. "Are they scanning us?" he finally asked, though he already knew the answer. The Discovery's quantum interference patterns would have detected any conventional scanning attempts. "No active scans detected," Rodriguez reported, suppressing a smile. "Though they appear to be trying. Their attempts at quantum observation are primitive, like watching someone try to measure wind speed with a sundial." The bridge crew maintained their professional composure, though the atmosphere was thick with barely contained amusement. Humanity had moved beyond such crude scanning methods decades ago, after the quantum revolution of 2157 had rewritten their understanding of reality itself. A massive energy surge from the alien structure caught their attention. Patterns of light rippled across its crystalline surface in what was clearly meant to be an impressive display of power. The crew watched with scientific interest, cataloging the various technological principles at work, most of which Earth's children had mastered during their primary school science fairs. "Incoming transmission," Communications Officer Raj Patel announced. "They're using is that modulated tachyon burst communication." "How quaint." "Let's hear it," Chen ordered, straightening in his chair. First contact protocols were clear. Let the other side make their moves first, assess their technological level, and respond appropriately to prevent cultural shock on either side. The alien message boomed through the bridge speakers in perfectly translated Earth Standard, thanks to the Discovery's quantum AI. "Unknown vessel, you have entered the sovereign territory of the Galactic Concordat. Your primitive craft is surrounded. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded for inspection. Resistance would be inadvisable." Chen glanced at his crew, noting their carefully controlled expressions. The primitive craft comment had clearly amused them. The Discovery, while modest in size, represented the pinnacle of human engineering. Its quantum-entangled hull could literally phase through solid matter if necessary, while its consciousness-linked control systems made it more an extension of its crew than a simple vessel. "Shall I show them our actual sensor profile, Captain?" Rodriguez asked, her fingers hovering over her console. Currently, the Discovery was running in passive mode, displaying only its physical hull configuration, a deliberate choice to avoid overwhelming less advanced civilizations with their true capabilities. Chen considered the request. "Not yet. Let's try diplomacy first." He cleared his throat. "This is Captain Michael Chen of the United Earth Ship Discovery. We come in peace, seeking diplomatic contact with new civilizations. We respectfully acknowledge your territorial claim, but wish to point out that according to our star charts, this region falls under the Free Space Accords of 2189. There was a long pause before the alien vessel responded. "Your impudence is noted, primitive vessel. Our scans indicate you possess no weapons, no shield systems, and your hull is composed of materials barely beyond industrial-age metallurgy. You will comply, or we will be forced to demonstrate the true power of the Concordat." Rodriguez couldn't contain her snort of laughter this time. The Discovery's hull was actually a quantum-engineered metamaterial that could absorb and redirect energy at will. What their scans were detecting was merely the outer camouflage layer, designed specifically to avoid frightening less advanced species. "Captain," Patel interjected, They're charging what appears to be some form of plasma-based weapon system. Relatively high yield, but nothing our hull couldn't absorb for breakfast. Should I raise our actual shields? Chen leaned forward, a slight smile playing at his lips. No need for that yet. Let's try one more time to avoid any unnecessary demonstrations. He opened a channel again. Concordat vessel, we appreciate your concern, but I assure you we pose no threat. Perhaps we could discuss this over a cup of coffee. Earth's latest quantum-grown beans make a brew that I'm told can change one's perspective on reality itself. The alien response was immediate and incredulous. You dare to mock the might of the Concordat? Very well. You were warned. Witness the power of true technological superiority. The alien structure's weapon systems released their energy in a dazzling display that, Chen had to admit, would have been terrifying to a less advanced civilization. The massive energy beam struck the Discovery's hull and simply disappeared. Rodriguez's console lit up with notifications. Sir, their attack just added another 15% to our energy reserves. The quantum absorption matrices are actually thanking us. Send them a diagram of what just happened, Chen decided. Basic quantum mechanics only, nothing too advanced. Let's not overwhelm them on first contact. The bridge crew watched as their simple scientific explanation was transmitted to the alien vessel. The subsequent silence stretched for nearly 5 minutes before a much subdued voice came through their comm system. Your vessel absorbed our primary weapon system's full output and converted it to usable energy. This is impossible. Our scientists assured us no civilization could be this advanced without our knowledge. Chen smiled warmly, though the aliens couldn't see it. The galaxy is full of surprises. Now about that coffee. Our quantum replicators make an excellent espresso, and I find it's always better to discuss physics over a good cup of coffee. We humans learned long ago that the best way to understand the universe is to remain humble and open to new possibilities. There was another long pause before the alien vessel responded, their tone notably different. This coffee. Does it truly alter one's perception of reality? Only metaphorically, Chen chuckled. But it's a good place to start. We have much to learn from each other, I suspect. For instance, your crystalline hull architecture is fascinating. We'd love to discuss engineering principles with your scientists. As the tension dissolved into curiosity on both sides, Chen couldn't help but reflect on humanity's journey to the stars. They had indeed come far from their humble beginnings, but it was their ability to maintain that humility, even in the face of their incredible technological achievements, that truly set them apart. Lieutenant Wu, he ordered, prepare our diplomatic reception area. And Rodriguez, break out the good coffee beans. Something tells me this is the beginning of a very interesting relationship. The Discovery's crew began their preparations for their first official diplomatic contact, each of them knowing that somewhere, the early pioneers of human space exploration were smiling. Humanity had not only reached for the stars, they had mastered them, all while keeping their sense of wonder intact. High Commandant Vexthor of the Galactic Concordat stood frozen before the holographic display, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession as he processed the report for the 7th time. Around him, the crystal-spired command center of Capital Station Infinite hummed with nervous energy as other officials struggled to comprehend the data before them. Impossible, he whispered, though he knew the quantum-encrypted transmission bore the highest authentication markers. Simply impossible. The report detailed the encounter between the Concordat's advanced scout vessel and a human ship in the outer reaches. But it wasn't the encounter itself that caused his secondary heart to flutter. It was the casual display of technology that, by all rights, should have been centuries beyond any emerging civilization's grasp. High Commandant, his chief scientist, Dr. Ixtal, approached with characteristic caution. We've completed our analysis of the technical data they shared. Well, sir, it's both elegant and terrifying in its simplicity. Vexthor turned all 4 eyes toward the scientist. Explain. The humans didn't develop along our technological path at all. While we mastered crystal matrices and plasma containment, they apparently took a completely different route. Their understanding of quantum mechanics isn't just advanced, it's revolutionary. They're not using technology as we understand it. They're using the fundamental laws of reality itself. The High Commandant's facial scales shifted color in distress. How did we miss this? Our observation posts have monitored their solar system for decades. We watched them struggle with primitive rocket technology, saw their first stumbling steps to their lunar satellite. Their development should have taken centuries more. Dr. Ixtol brought up a new holographic display, showing Earth's technological progression timeline. That's just it, sir. We thought we were watching their natural development. But look here. He pointed to a specific date. In 2157, something changed. Their entire scientific understanding underwent a radical shift. They didn't gradually advance. They completely reimagined their approach to physics. The quantum revolution they mentioned, Vex Thor recalled from the report. But surely. Sir, a junior communications officer interrupted, their scales flushed with excitement. We're receiving a general broadcast from the human vessel. They're offering to share some of their basic scientific principles with us, as a gesture of goodwill. Vex Thor felt his pride warring with his curiosity. The Concordat had long considered itself the pinnacle of galactic civilization. To accept help from a species they dismissed as primitive mere days ago. Show me, he finally ordered. The central holographic display filled with equations and diagrams that made his head spin. They were deceptively simple at first glance, but the implications. The humans had somehow found a way to interface directly with quantum fields, treating the very fabric of reality as a malleable tool rather than an immutable force. Sir, Dr. Ixtel's voice had taken on an almost reverent tone. These equations, they solve problems our greatest minds have struggled with for generations, and they're marking this as elementary school-level physics. Before Vex Thor could respond, another transmission came through. The human captain, Chen, he recalled, appeared in the holographic display, sipping something from a small container. High Commandant, Chen greeted warmly. I trust you've had time to review our initial data package. We're hoping this demonstration of openness will pave the way for meaningful dialogue between our civilizations. Vex Thor drew himself up to his full height. Captain Chen, your generosity is noted. Though I must admit, we find ourselves somewhat taken aback by the level of advancement your species has achieved while remaining relatively isolated. Chen smiled, taking another sip from his container. Yes, we find that focus and necessity often breed innovation. Would you believe that much of our quantum understanding came from our scientists trying to figure out how to make better coffee makers? Coffee makers. Vex Thor blinked in confusion. It's a beverage we're quite fond of. In trying to perfect the extraction process at the quantum level, we accidentally discovered several fundamental principles about reality itself. Sometimes the most profound discoveries come from the simplest desires. Chen's eyes twinkled. We'd be happy to share both the beverage and the physics with you. Dr. Ixtel leaned close to Vex Thor. Sir, if their casual discoveries led to this level of advancement, imagine what we might learn from actual collaboration. The High Commandant considered his options. The Concordat's position as the supreme technological power in the galaxy had just been upended by a species that had apparently revolutionized physics while trying to make a better cup of hot liquid. Captain Chen, he finally spoke, the Concordat would be honored to engage in scientific and cultural exchange with Earth. Though I must ask, why share your advances so freely? Surely you realize this gives you a significant diplomatic advantage. Chen's smile widened. High Commandant, humanity learned long ago that the greatest advantages come not from hoarding knowledge, but from sharing it. Every time we teach, we learn something new ourselves. Besides, he lifted his cup. We'd found that the best discussions happen over a good cup of coffee. As arrangements were made for a formal diplomatic meeting, Vexthor couldn't help but marvel at the humans' approach. They had achieved technological supremacy almost by accident, and their response was not to lord it over others, but to freely offer their knowledge with a warm beverage and a smile. "Dr. Ixtal," he spoke quietly, "prepare our best scientists. Something tells me we're about to enter a new age of discovery." He paused, then added, "And find out everything you can about this coffee. If it truly sparked their quantum revolution, we need to understand it." As the human vessel's schematics displayed on the holographic screens, now revealing their true technological nature, Vexthor realized that the galaxy was about to change forever. The species they had dismissed as primitive had not only surpassed them, but was offering to help them catch up, all while maintaining an almost infuriating level of casual humility. The art of underestimation, indeed. The Concordat would not make that mistake again. The grand reception hall of Capital Station Infinite had never witnessed anything quite like this. Its crystalline walls, usually gleaming with the formal dignity of Concordat ceremonies, now reflected the controlled chaos of humanity's first official diplomatic function. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched with barely contained amusement as High Commandant Vexthor's scales shifted through a rainbow of colors at his first sip of quantum-brewed espresso. The four-eyed alien leader blinked rapidly, all of his eyes dilating at once. "This is extraordinary," he managed, staring at the small cup in his hand as if it held the secrets of the universe. "In a way," Rodriguez mused, "it did. The quantum extraction process allows for perfect isolation of flavor compounds," she explained, gesturing to the portable brewing station they'd brought aboard. "Each molecule is individually selected and arranged for optimal taste. It's actually a wonderful practical demonstration of quantum field manipulation." Around them, other members of the Concordat scientific elite were experiencing their own revelations. Some were analyzing the coffee with handheld scanners, while others were engaged in animated discussions with the human delegation about the intersection of quantum physics and culinary arts. Captain Chen stood nearby, deep in conversation with Dr. Ixtal, the Concordat's chief scientist. "You see, the breakthrough came when we realized we were thinking too rigidly about particle interaction," Chen was saying. "One of our quantum physicists was trying to perfect her morning coffee routine and noticed some unusual patterns in her home quantum analyzer." "You allow citizens to have personal quantum analyzers?" Ixtal's voice carried a mix of shock and envy. "Of course. They're standard household items, like food synthesizers or gravity adjusters. Most children get their first quantum training set around age 5. Chen paused, noting the scientist's expression. Perhaps we should start with some basics. Lieutenant Wu, would you mind demonstrating?" Sarah Wu stepped forward, pulling what looked like a simple bracelet from her wrist. With a few gentle movements, she expanded it into a floating holographic workspace. "This is a standard personal quantum interface. Watch what happens when I apply it to the coffee preparation process." The assembled aliens gasped as Wu manipulated quantum fields with the casual ease of someone who had grown up with the technology. The coffee beans levitated, their molecular structure displayed in real time as she adjusted their quantum states to achieve the perfect roast. "Remarkable," Ixtal breathed. "Your species has integrated quantum mechanics into every aspect of daily life." "It just makes sense," Wu shrugged. "Once you understand that reality is fundamentally malleable at the quantum level, why not use that knowledge to make life more convenient and enjoyable?" A young Concordat engineer raised her hand, her scales flickering with excitement. "But what about the computational requirements? The power needed to maintain quantum coherence at that scale?" Rodriguez stepped in. "Actually, that's where human innovation really shines. We discovered that consciousness itself acts as a quantum observer and stabilizer. Once we learned to interface our minds directly with quantum fields, the power requirements dropped dramatically. The human brain, it turns out, is a remarkably efficient quantum computer." The revelation caused a stir among the assembled aliens. The idea that consciousness could be directly integrated with quantum mechanics was revolutionary to their understanding of physics. High Commandant Vexthor, now on his third cup of coffee, turned to Captain Chen. Your species' approach to technology is unprecedented. You've taken what we considered abstract theoretical physics and turned it into a better cup of coffee. Chen suggested with a smile. That's often how human innovation works. We start with something simple, something that brings joy or makes life easier, and in pursuing that goal, we stumble upon profound universal truths. But how do you manage the psychological impact? One of the Concordat's cultural experts interjected. Such power, such fundamental control over reality itself. How do you prevent it from overwhelming your people? Wu laughed. The same way we prevent people from being overwhelmed by anything else. Education, culture, and a healthy sense of humor. When you grow up understanding that reality is more flexible than rigid, it becomes natural to respect that flexibility while not taking it too seriously. As if to demonstrate her point, she used her quantum interface to create a floating coffee bean that danced through the air, leaving a trail of aromatic molecules that assembled themselves into the shape of a smiling face. The display drew chuckles from both humans and aliens, breaking down more barriers than any formal diplomatic exchange could have. Rodriguez noticed how the Concordat scientists were beginning to relax, their initially rigid postures softening as they realized that humanity's technological advancement hadn't come at the cost of their humanity. If anything, it had enhanced it. The real question, Vex Thor said, staring thoughtfully into his empty cup, is where we go from here. Your species has offered to share knowledge that could revolutionize our entire civilization. What do you want in return? Chen's response was immediate and sincere. Your perspective, your history, your art and culture and understanding of the galaxy. Humans may have taken a different path technologically, but we're still explorers at heart. We want to learn, to grow, to understand. Every civilization has something unique to offer, and we're excited to discover what we can learn from you. As the diplomatic function continued, Rodriguez observed how the initial awkwardness had transformed into genuine curiosity and excitement on both sides. The Concordat's representatives were already discussing plans for cultural exchange programs, joint scientific ventures, and, most importantly, establishing coffee shops throughout their territory. She smiled, remembering an old Earth saying, "The best way to a being's heart is through their stomach," or in this case, through a perfectly quantum-brewed cup of coffee and the revolutionary physics that made it possible. The Joint Human Concordat Research Facility, Quantum Horizon, hung in space like a dream made manifest. Its crystalline spires, borrowed from Concordat architecture, merged seamlessly with flowing quantum-stabilized fields that humans had contributed to the design. The station represented the first true collaboration between the two civilizations, and today it faced its first major crisis. The anomaly is expanding at an exponential rate, Dr. Ixtal announced to the assembled emergency response team. The holographic display showed a growing tear in spacetime, its edges crackling with violent energy. At current progression, it will threaten populated systems within 72 hours. Captain Chen, now serving as Earth's liaison to the Concordat, studied the readings with a thoughtful expression. Origin: unknown, Lieutenant Wu responded, her fingers dancing through quantum interfaces as she analyzed the data. But the energy signature suggests it's artificial. Someone's been playing with forces they don't fully understand. High Commandant Vex Thor's scales darkened with concern. Our conventional containment methods have failed. The anomaly simply absorbs or redirects any energy we throw at it. Reminds me of my first attempt at quantum coffee brewing. Dr. Rodriguez mused, earning surprised looks from the Concordat officials. No, really. When I was first learning to manipulate quantum fields for molecular gastronomy, I accidentally created a similar cascade effect. The more energy I used to try to control it, the worse it got. Chen's eyes lit up with understanding. Elena, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to stop fighting it, Rodriguez said, pulling up her own set of calculations. Look at these resonance patterns. The anomaly isn't just absorbing energy. It's trying to achieve stability. Ixtal leaned forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his anxiety. Like a quantum system seeking its ground state. Exactly. Rodriguez expanded her display, showing complex wave functions that merged concordat crystal harmonics with human quantum field theory. What if instead of trying to contain or destroy it, we help it find what it's looking for? The next few hours saw an unprecedented collaboration as human intuition and creativity merged with concordat precision and experience. While the aliens' initial instinct had been to approach the problem with overwhelming force, humans suggested a more subtle approach. It's like teaching a child to dance, Wu explained as she helped calibrate the station's quantum arrays. You don't force them into position. You guide them. Let them feel the rhythm naturally. The concordat engineers watched in fascination as humans practically danced through their work, treating the deadly serious situation with a mix of focused determination and lighthearted problem-solving that seemed paradoxical to their more structured minds. I still don't understand how you can joke at a time like this, one of the concordat scientists remarked, watching Rodriguez hum to herself while programming complex quantum algorithms. Humor helps us think creatively, she replied without looking up. When you're relaxed, you're more likely to see connections you might miss if you're too tense. Besides, the universe has a sense of humor. Might as well work with it rather than against it. The station's combined technologies hummed to life as they implemented their solution. Instead of trying to force the anomaly closed, they created a quantum resonance field that matched its natural frequency, gradually guiding it toward stability like a parent teaching a child to balance on a bicycle. Energy levels are dropping, Ixtal reported, his voice filled with wonder. The anomaly is actually responding to the harmonic guidance. It's almost like it's dancing with us. Chen smiled. Sometimes the best way to lead is to be a good dance partner. Match their rhythm, guide gently, and trust in the natural flow of things. The crisis passed not with a dramatic battle or explosive conclusion, but with a gentle dissolution as the anomaly gradually wound down to nothing, leaving behind valuable data about space-time stability and the importance of balanced approaches to cosmic phenomena. In the aftermath, as humans and concordat members celebrated their success in the station's observation lounge, Vex Thor approached Chen with a thoughtful expression. Your species continues to surprise us, the High Commandant admitted. When we first encountered you, we thought your technological advancement was your most remarkable feature. Now I'm beginning to think it's your approach to problems that truly sets you apart. Chen watched as Rodriguez taught a group of concordat scientists how to make quantum-perfect hot chocolate, their earlier formality forgotten in shared enthusiasm for discovery and creation. Technology is just a tool, he replied. What matters is how you use it and why. Humans advance so quickly not because we were smarter or more capable, but because we never lost our ability to play, to wonder, to see the universe as something to dance with rather than conquer. And that's why you share your knowledge so freely, because you see it as part of this dance. Exactly. Every civilization has its own rhythm, its own song to add to the cosmic symphony. The concordat's precision and structure complements humanity's creativity and intuition. Together, we're creating something greater than either of us could achieve alone. As if to emphasize his point, the station's quantum fields rippled with harmonious energy patterns, concordat crystals resonating in perfect sync with human quantum matrices. The facility itself had become a physical manifestation of their partnership, proof that different approaches to understanding the universe could not only coexist, but strengthen each other. I believe, Vex Thor said slowly, his scales shifting to a thoughtful blue, that this is just the beginning of what our civilizations can achieve together. Chen raised his coffee cup in agreement. To joint ventures, then. And to remembering that sometimes the most serious problems are best solved with a light heart and a willing dance partner. The stars seemed to twinkle in agreement as human and alien alike turned their gaze toward the future they would build together. 5 years after first contact, The Galactic Assembly Hall on Capital Station Infinite was barely recognizable. What had once been a formal chamber of crystalline majesty had transformed into a vibrant hub of interstellar cooperation. Quantum fields danced with crystal harmonics, while representatives from dozens of civilizations mingled freely, many of them clutching cups of various Earth beverages that had become diplomatic staples. High Commandant Vex Thor, his scales shimmering with pride, stood beside Captain Chen, now Ambassador Chen, as they watched the proceedings of the first Galactic Innovation Summit. "Did you ever imagine it would spread so quickly?" Vex Thor asked, gesturing to the diverse gathering before them. Species that had once been bitter rivals now collaborated on projects that would have been impossible just years ago. Chen smiled, sipping his ever-present coffee. "Honestly, yes. Once you understand that the universe isn't a zero-sum game, cooperation becomes the obvious choice." Below them, Dr. Rodriguez was leading a fascinating presentation on the merger of quantum mechanics with various alien technologies. On one display, a Meridian crystal drive, once considered the pinnacle of FTL technology, had been enhanced with human quantum fields, increasing its efficiency by several orders of magnitude while actually reducing its energy consumption. The principles were always there, Rodriguez explained to her rapt audience. Each of our civilizations simply saw different parts of the same cosmic puzzle. Together, we're finally seeing the full picture. Dr. Ixtal, now the head of the Joint Species Innovation Council, stepped forward to demonstrate their latest breakthrough. By combining human quantum manipulation with concordat crystal matrices and meridian energy distribution systems, we've created something entirely new. The holographic display showed a network of interconnected stations spreading across the galaxy, each one a fusion of multiple civilizations, technologies, and philosophies. These harmony nodes, as they'd been dubbed, served as technological and cultural exchange points, allowing species to share knowledge and resources freely. But the technology itself isn't the most remarkable part, Lieutenant Wu added, now a key figure in interspecies relations. It's how it's being used. Watch this. She activated a live feed from a distant system where a dying star had been threatening several inhabited worlds. Instead of seeing panic or evacuation efforts, they watched as ships from a dozen different species worked in perfect concert. Human quantum fields merged with concordat crystal arrays and meridian energy nets, gradually stabilizing the star's core through a delicate dance of multiple technologies. 5 years ago, each of our species would have approached this problem differently, Wu explained. The concordat would have tried to contain it with brute force. Humans would have looked for a quantum solution. The meridians would have attempted energy redistribution. Instead, we learned to combine our approaches, and now we can accomplish things that none of us could have achieved alone. A ripple of appreciative murmurs swept through the assembly. Several representatives activated their own displays, showing similar collaborative efforts across the galaxy. Ancient territorial disputes were being resolved through shared technological development. Species that had once hoarded their secrets now eagerly sought partners for joint ventures. "It's not just about the technology," Chen observed to Vex Thor. "Look at how they're interacting." Indeed, the formal diplomatic protocols that had once dominated galactic relations had given way to something more organic. Young concordat scientists chatted excitedly with human quantum physicists, while meridian energy masters shared insights with both. The rigid hierarchies of the past had dissolved in favor of a more dynamic, collaborative approach. "I remember when we first met," Vex Thor said, his scales shifting to a nostalgic purple. "We thought we were so advanced, so superior. And then your little ship showed us that the true measure of advancement isn't in the power of your weapons or the size of your fleet, but in the willingness to learn, to share, and to grow together," Chen finished. "Though I have to admit, the coffee helped." They shared a knowing laugh, remembering how that simple beverage had become a symbol of human concordat relations. Now the station's numerous coffee shops served as informal meeting grounds where species from across the galaxy gathered to exchange ideas and build friendships. Rodriguez joined them, her presentation complete. "The next phase is ready to begin," she announced. "The Galactic Education Initiative has been approved unanimously. We're going to start sharing advanced quantum mechanics with developing civilizations, along with the philosophical framework to use it responsibly. Are we ready for that level of openness?" Vexthor asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "We have to be," Chen replied. "The galaxy is too vast and too wonderful to keep to ourselves. Every species deserves the chance to join this dance." As if in response to his words, the station's quantum fields rippled with harmonic energy, creating a spectacular display as crystal matrices resonated in symphony. The gathered representatives paused in their discussions to admire the show, a perfect metaphor for what they had achieved together. "To think," Vexthor mused, "all of this started because we underestimated a small human vessel on a routine patrol." "No," Chen corrected gently. "It started because when we discovered we had been underestimated, we chose to respond with openness rather than superiority. And when you discovered you had been wrong, you chose to learn rather than deny. Those choices, more than any technology, are what brought us here." As the assembly continued below them, ships from dozens of species docked at the station, bringing new ideas, new perspectives, and new possibilities. The galaxy was transforming, not through conquest or competition, but through collaboration and shared wonder at the universe's mysteries. The future stretched before them, infinite in its potential, as humanity and their new allies prepared to face it together. Not as conquerors or competitors, but as partners in the greatest adventure any of them had ever known, the exploration and understanding of a universe that had proven far more wonderful than any of them had imagined.